was it like being in the dressing room with all the stuff that went on between Karlsson and Hoffman, and how bad was it dealing with Eugene? I'll leave out the second part. I didn't mean to read that part. But do you want to discuss briefly, because I did want to get to it at one point during a show, to discuss the drama that unfolded on that team that season. Do you have a Cole's Notes version? Or do you want to have one?
I'll actually just say I absolutely loved Eugene. I absolutely loved him. I know all the stuff with the finances and the way he ran and outside of it, but I'm just talking about my personal experience with him was incredible. Every time he came in, and I think he liked talking to me because we talked outside of hockey about stuff, and we always had good, positive conversations. Always remembered my wife and kids' names. Always took time out of his day to say hello. So I have nothing but fond experiences with him. I'll say that. On the other side of things, I won't go into detail on anything. I don't think that's anybody but their family's businesses now at this point because it's so far removed. But it was obviously we knew about it long before the organization did. And I remember when it got brought to Guy's attention, we talked about it, him and I in the hallway for a half hour one time about how to manage it within the room. And the best way to manage it, honestly, was we had to ignore it. And we did to a degree, but there was when did it all come out? Was it March? So there wasn't a lot of time left.
Yeah,
March.
It felt like it was just before the draft, kind of thing. Because Hoff got traded right away.
Yeah, that was immediate. I remember that. A lot of us knew details and a lot of us didn't know details. There was a split. Some guys just didn't care and didn't want to be part of it, and other guys were like, okay, well, now it's managed. Now it's, the guys with wives and families were like, what's going to happen up in that room? Because that's, the last thing you want to do is leave a game and then hear about the drama that's happening outside of the locker room. That's first and foremost. And I remember they had wives meetings on it. They had different things around it. We as a team and some of the older guys said the best way for us to do this is to make sure those two are supported in any certain way, whether, and not to cast blame on one or the other, because really neither one of these two guys knew much about it until it became a bigger thing. But there was certainly animosity between the two of them at that point. There was certainly, let's sit them further apart from each other. Let's let them avoid each other at best. But like those two guys still played cards together on the table. Like there were ways around it, and we figured them out. But I thought we handled it really well. Tried to keep it very, very closed lid, so that didn't become a major thing outside of the room and in the media. And but it made the year harder. It certainly made the year harder. It made you're just like waiting for the shoe to drop on it all year long. So everybody's walking on eggshells. It was a hard. I guess it was 3 months of that season that it was pretty hard on all of us. Yeah. 3 months of that season that was a train wreck.
I got told early on, like, because you guys have started to struggle, and they were talking about, well, it's got to do with the wives' lounge more than it's got to do with the players on the ice. And I remember being told how, I'll say, disruptive the off-ice stuff was getting and how it was causing issues basically on the ice. And I don't know to what extent, but I just knew that there was a lot going on in that wives' lounge that was really causing problems with the way that the team was performing. I do remember that.
So I say lucky. My wife and I at the time were really lucky because we had a young baby. So she wasn't involved in the day-to-day stuff. She didn't attend a lot of games at this point, but obviously was on the text thread and understand. And I'd come home and she'd be like, have you heard anything? And I'm like, I did, but I don't know what you heard. I'm not talking about it. And she would, she would tell me what was going on up there. And I'm like, honestly, and I remember telling Danielle, I just said, hey, the best thing for you to do is when Melinda texts you or when Monica texts you, be supportive of both of them, take the middle ground, and form your own opinion over time. And she did, and she handled it really gracefully, I thought, on both sides of that situation. But yeah, there was a lot and it was a young wise room, right? So it was tough. It's like there weren't many old salts like old salts like Danielle weren't around to kind of balance things because we had the young baby. So there was something every game, every single game there was something, and you would hear about it the next day, and you're just like, We lost 4-1 last night. Let's talk about anything else but what's happening in the wives' room. Stop giving them wine.
Hey,
Yeah.
the wives room can get it's a whole different battleground in there. And I could tell you when I was a rookie in Detroit and I was really young, my wife had to walk into that wives room and you got like superstars and their wives are on, it's a whole different level of, lifestyle they're living, and you got people from different walks in life. It's very tough on especially when you're the new wife coming in there. Like there's a lot of dynamics in the wife's room. Yeah. So, but I'll say to Bobby's point, once guys get in the locker room, it's business. It's business, yeah. And it's your escape from what you've done, and you become a kid again. You're playing hockey, and there's always issues. Like obviously this was at a different magnitude, but every team's got issues. It's just sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't.
Exactly.
We'll delve into that sometime more in the future because there's just a little bit more I have to ask about that.